6 months ago, my whole world cracked open. My wife, Linda, died without warning. We had been married for 37 years. That morning she was in the kitchen flipping her blueberry pancakes, singing along to some old country song on the radio like she always did. By supper time, she was gone. The doctor told me it was a sudden heart attack and that it was quick, that she did not suffer. Maybe she did not, but I sure did. At 64 years old, I found myself standing alone in the house Linda and I built together here in Calgary. Every room carried her voice. Every corner held a memory. And once the visitors stopped coming by with casseroles and sympathy cards, the silence settled in heavy and thick. Our daughter, Olivia, had moved to Vancouver years back for her career. She called often, but phone calls do not fill an empty chair at the table. My son, Michael, lived right here in Calgary with his wife, Amanda, and their 2 little girls. But Michael worked up north in the oil fields. He would be gone for weeks at a time. Amanda was a real estate agent, always rushing from one showing to another, closing deals, glued to her phone. Then there was my nephew, Ethan. Ethan was 16. He had been living with Linda and me for almost 2 years after his parents, my younger brother Thomas and his wife, Nicole, were killed in a car wreck on the Trans-Canada Highway during a winter storm. Black ice. One second they were driving home. The next second, everything was over. Ethan had been sitting in the back seat. He survived with a broken arm and some bruises, but he lost both his parents in the blink of an eye. Linda and I became his legal guardians. We were the only close family he had left in the city, and he was halfway through high school. It was not even a question. Of course he would stay with us. He was a good kid. Quiet, especially after the accident. Maybe too quiet. But he kept his grades steady, played hockey, and did his share of chores without being asked. Linda had a special way with him. She never pushed. If he needed space, she gave it to him. If he needed comfort, she was there with a warm hug and a hot meal waiting on the stove. After she died, Ethan and I leaned on each other. Some nights we would sit at the kitchen table long after dinner, not saying much, just keeping each other company, because the house felt too big and too empty. That is when Amanda stepped in. About 2 weeks after the funeral, she stood in my kitchen, already rearranging my cupboards like she owned the place. "Robert, you cannot handle this house and take care of Ethan all by yourself," she said. "You are grieving. You need help. Michael and I talked, and we think it would be best if we move in for a while. Just temporary, until you are back on your feet." Part of me wanted to tell her no. I wanted to say that Ethan and I were managing fine. But the truth was, I was not managing as well as I pretended. The laundry piled up. Dishes sat in the sink longer than they should have. And the silence at night felt like it was pressing down on my chest. "I do not want to be a burden," I told her. She smiled, but it never quite reached her eyes. "Do not be ridiculous, Robert. You are family. And our lease is up next month anyway. This house has so much more room for the girls. It will be good for everyone." So they moved in. Michael, Amanda, and their 2 daughters, Madison, who was 8, and Chloe, who was 6. Overnight, my quiet home turned noisy again. Toys in the living room. Laughter in the hallways. The girls were sweet as could be. They would run up to me with drawings from school or ask me to read them bedtime stories. For a while it helped. It felt almost normal. Michael seemed glad to have his family all together under one roof when he came back from the oil fields. And Amanda, well, she took over. She reorganized the entire kitchen. She threw out Linda's herb garden out back because she said it looked messy. She moved the furniture around in the living room without asking me. She insisted on cooking every meal, and every time she did, she made sure we all knew how exhausting it was to cook for 7 people. With a heavy sigh and a loud clatter of pots, she would say, "Robert, you really should think about downsizing. This house is too much for you." Then she would add, "Have you considered one of those retirement communities? They have activities, meal plans, everything taken care of." "I am 64, Amanda, not 84, I would tell her. "And this is my home. Linda and I built it from the ground up." She would tilt her head and give me that same soft, patient smile. "I understand. I am just thinking about your future, about what is best for you." After a while, I started noticing small lapses in my memory. Nothing major at first. I would misplace my reading glasses. I could not remember if I had taken my blood pressure medication. Sometimes I would lose track of what day it was. Amanda noticed too, or at least she made sure everyone else noticed. "Robert, you already asked me that this morning. she would say at the dinner table. Or, are you feeling all right? Maybe we should schedule a doctor's appointment. One morning she announced, loud enough for the whole house to hear, you left the stove on again last night. Thank goodness I came downstairs. We could have had a fire. The problem was, I did not remember leaving the stove on. There were other things she claimed I had forgotten or done wrong, and I could not clearly remember those either. It made my stomach twist into knots. Linda had always handled most of the household details. Maybe I was just overwhelmed. Maybe grief was scrambling my head. I started wondering if Amanda was right, if I was slipping more than I realized. But it was Ethan who really worried me. He had always been quiet, but now he seemed tense all the time. If Amanda walked into a room, he would stiffen like he had been caught doing something wrong. He stopped sitting in the living room, stopped watching television with the girls. He stayed in his bedroom with the door shut. When I asked if he was all right, he would shrug and say he had homework. One evening, about 4 months after Michael and Amanda moved in, we were all at the dinner table. I tried to lighten the mood. So, Ethan, I said, how is the hockey team looking this year? Think you boys will make the playoffs? He opened his mouth to answer, but Amanda jumped in before he could speak. Actually, he has been struggling at school, she said. His grades have dropped quite a bit. I meant to talk to you about it, Robert. Ethan's face turned bright red. My grades are fine, he muttered. Are they? Amanda lifted her eyebrows. I saw your last math test. 63% is not fine. I am passing everything, he said quietly, staring down at his plate. Barely, she replied. Then she looked at me with that worried expression she had mastered. I am concerned about him. The grief, the stress of living here. It is clearly affecting him. Maybe he needs counseling, or maybe a more structured environment. I frowned. What do you mean by a more structured environment? She spoke smooth and calm. Sometimes teenagers who have experienced trauma need more supervision than we can provide. There are programs, even group homes that specialize in helping kids like him. Ethan pushed his chair back so fast it scraped hard against the floor. May I be excused? He asked. You have not finished your dinner, Amanda said. I am not hungry. He left the table before anyone could stop him. Later that night, as I was getting ready for bed, there was a quiet knock at my door. I opened it and saw Ethan standing there. He looked pale, nervous. His hands were shoved deep into the pockets of his sweatshirt. Uncle Robert, he said softly, can I talk to you? Of course, I told him. Come on in. I pointed to the chair by the window, but he did not sit. He closed the door behind him and paced back and forth a couple of times like he was trying to work up the courage to say something. Then he stopped and looked at me. I need to tell you something, he said, but I do not know how to say it. Just tell me, son, I said. Whatever it is, you can say it. Ethan drew in a long breath, like he was about to jump into cold water. It is about Aunt Amanda, he said. She is not. I mean, things are not. His words fell apart. I could see the frustration all over his face. What about Amanda? I asked him, keeping my voice calm. Before he could answer, there was a knock on my bedroom door. Amanda's voice came through the wood, sharp but sweet at the same time. Robert, is Ethan in there? He needs to shower and get to bed. It is a school night. The change in Ethan was instant. His shoulders stiffened. His face went blank. I should go, he muttered. He opened the door before I could stop him. Everything all right? Amanda asked, looking from him to me. Fine, Ethan said quickly, slipping past her without making eye contact. She stayed in the doorway a moment longer. He has been so moody lately, she said with a sigh. Typical teenage behavior, I suppose. But with everything he has been through, she shook her head like she was carrying the weight of the world. We really need to watch him closely, Robert. Make sure he is not developing something serious. After she walked away, I sat down on the edge of my bed. Ethan had been about to tell me something important, something about her. And the second she showed up, it was like someone flipped a switch inside him. Over the next few weeks, I started paying closer attention. Every time Ethan and I tried to talk alone, Amanda would somehow appear. She would walk in with laundry, or ask me a question, or call Ethan downstairs for something that could have waited. She also started bringing me coffee in bed every morning. Now, I will admit, that felt nice at first. A hot cup waiting for me when I woke up. But along with the coffee, she would set my pill bottles on the nightstand. She would shake the pills into her hand and line them up neatly. Do not forget these, Robert, she would say. Your health matters. That meant she was handling my medication every single morning. Around that same time, my memory problems got worse. I would forget whole conversations. I would walk into a room and stand there, not knowing why I had gone in. Sometimes it felt like hours disappeared on me. Michael brought it up one evening when he was home between rotations. Maybe Dad should see a doctor, he said carefully. He is too young for dementia, he added, but there was doubt in his voice. Age does not protect anyone, Amanda replied smoothly. Cognitive decline can happen at any time. And with the stress he has been under since Linda passed, it is not surprising. They talked about me like I was not sitting right there at the kitchen table. Then came the night of the note. It was a Tuesday. Michael had already gone back north for work. Amanda made pot roast. The girls were talking about school. Ethan sat quiet, picking at his food. At one point, Amanda got up to refill her water glass in the kitchen. Ethan leaned toward me like he was reaching for the salt. His hand brushed mine, and I felt something small pressed into my palm. A folded piece of paper. Our eyes met for a split second. There was fear there, an urgency. Then he leaned back and kept eating like nothing happened. I kept that little piece of paper closed tight in my fist the rest of dinner. My heart was thumping so hard I thought someone might hear it. After we finished eating, I told everyone I was tired and went to my room. I shut the door and unfolded the paper. Ethan's handwriting was usually neat. This time it was rushed and shaky. Uncle Robert, check the crawl space behind the old furnace in the basement. You need to see what is there. Go when everyone is asleep. Do not tell Aunt Amanda. Please. I am scared. I read it 3 times. Scared of what? What could possibly be in that crawl space? And why keep it from Amanda? I waited until after midnight. I lay on top of the covers fully dressed, listening to the house grow quiet. Doors closed. Water pipes settled. No footsteps. When I was sure everyone was asleep, I got up. I grabbed my flashlight from the drawer beside my bed and headed downstairs, moving as quietly as I could. The basement steps creaked under my weight. Every little sound made me freeze. I stood there listening, expecting a light to snap on upstairs. Nothing. The basement was unfinished. Bare concrete floor. Open beams overhead. Boxes of old holiday decorations stacked along the walls. A couple of broken chairs. The old oil furnace sat in the far corner, big and ugly. I had been meaning to replace it for years. Behind it was a small crawl space. Just a low opening that led under the front porch. We never stored anything in there. It was dusty and full of cobwebs. I aimed my flashlight into the dark and got down on my hands and knees. The space was tight, maybe 3 feet high. It smelled like damp dirt and mildew. I crawled forward slowly, sweeping the light back and forth. At first, I saw nothing but bare earth and spider webs. Then the beam hit something that did not belong. A cardboard box shoved way back against the foundation wall. I crawled up to it and dragged it toward me, coughing as dust filled the air. The box was sealed with packing tape. My hands were shaking as I tore it open. Inside were file folders. Documents. I pulled out the first folder. Bank statements. They had my name on them, but the account number did not look familiar. It was a joint account in my name and Amanda's name. The balance showed over $40,000. There were regular deposits. $2,000. $3,000. All transferred from my main account. The transfers started 2 months after Linda died. My vision went blurry. I blinked hard and kept going. The next folder held legal paperwork. Power of attorney documents. My signature was on them, giving Amanda complete control over my finances and my medical decisions. I did not remember signing anything like that. I would never sign something like that without speaking to my lawyer. Without Michael there. There was another document. A new will. This one left everything to Michael and Amanda. The house. My savings. My life insurance. Everything. Ethan was not mentioned at all. The signature looked like mine, but I had no memory of signing it. The real will, the one Linda and I made together, divided everything evenly between Michael and Ethan. We had made sure there were protections in place for school and housing for both boys. There were printed emails too. Emails between Amanda and a man named Dr. Reynolds. They talked about my declining mental capacity and moving forward with guardianship proceedings. Guardianship. They were planning to have me declared mentally incompetent. At the bottom of the box was a clear plastic bag filled with pill bottles. I recognized a couple of them. Sleeping medication. Something for anxiety. But there were others I did not recognize. I put on my reading glasses and held the flashlight close. One bottle was labeled alprazolam, a strong benzodiazepine. Another was a heavy sedative with a long name I could barely pronounce. That is when everything clicked. The morning coffee. The pills lined up for me. The confusion. The missing time. I was not losing my mind. She was drugging me. I sat back in that dirt, the flashlight shaking because my whole body was shaking. Amanda had been slipping me medication, moving my money, forging legal documents, planning to take control of my life and everything I owned. And Ethan had found out. Suddenly, I heard a sound behind me. I spun around so fast I nearly dropped the flashlight. Someone was standing at the crawl space entrance. For a split second, I thought it was Amanda. It was Ethan. He stood there in his pajamas, barefoot on the cold concrete, his face pale in the harsh beam of light. "Uncle Robert," he whispered. "Did you find it?" I crawled out of the space, still gripping the folders in my hands, and stood up in the open basement. "Ethan," I said, my voice barely steady, "what is this? How did you know?" He looked toward the basement stairs, eyes wide. "We have to be quiet," he whispered. "She cannot know you found it." "Who?" I asked, even though I already knew the answer. "Amanda?" Ethan nodded. His eyes filled with tears. "She has been planning this for months," he whispered. "I heard her one night on the phone with Uncle Michael. She said once you were declared incompetent, they could sell the house and take everything. She said I would not get anything because I am not blood. She said you were just my guardian." My chest felt tight. "She said they would put me in foster care after they had control," he added, his voice breaking. The room seemed to tilt under my feet. "Michael knew. My own son knew. How did you find all of this?" I asked, holding up the papers. "About 2 weeks ago," Ethan said. "I got up in the middle of the night to get water. I saw her coming upstairs from the basement with that box. She did not see me, but she looked sneaky. The next day, when everyone was out, I searched the basement. I found the crawl space and the box. I have been trying to tell you, but she is always around. She watches me. I think she knows I know something." I lifted the plastic bag with the pill bottles. "She has been putting these in my coffee, has she not?" He nodded again. "I saw her crushing pills one morning. She thought everyone was asleep. And you have been so confused lately, Uncle Robert. That is not like you. Even before Aunt Linda died, you were sharp. You still are." I looked down at the documents in my hands. Proof that my daughter-in-law had been stealing from me, drugging me, forging papers, and trying to take my home. And my son had gone along with it. "We need to be smart," I said quietly. "If Amanda finds out we discovered this, she might destroy the evidence. Or do something worse." "What are we going to do?" Ethan asked. I put my hand on his shoulder. "First, we put everything back exactly how it was. Tomorrow I will start making calls. My lawyer, my doctor, maybe the police. But we have to act normal. She cannot suspect a thing." We carefully sealed the box again and pushed it back into place in the crawl space. Then we went upstairs as quietly as we had come down. Before I went into my bedroom, Ethan grabbed my arm. "Thank you for believing me," he said. "I was scared you would think I was lying." "I believe you," I told him. "And you are not going anywhere. This is your home." He gave me a quick hug and slipped into his room. I did not sleep that night. I lay there staring at the ceiling, planning. The next morning, Amanda brought me my usual coffee. She was cheerful, smiling. "Good morning, Robert. Did you sleep well?" I looked at the mug, at the pills lined up neatly beside it, at her carefully practiced look of concern. "I slept fine," I said. She gestured toward the pills. "Do not forget your medication." "I think I will take them after breakfast from now on," I said casually. I read they work better on a full stomach. For just a second, something flashed across her face. Irritation. Then it was gone. "Well, whatever you think is best," she said lightly. "I will leave them here." After she walked out, I scooped up the pills and hid them in my sock drawer. Then I poured the coffee down the bathroom sink. For the first time in months, my head felt clear. I called my lawyer and got an appointment that afternoon. I told his assistant it was urgent. Then I called my doctor, Dr. Lewis, who had been my physician for over 20 years. I asked for a full evaluation and complete blood work as soon as possible. "Is everything all right, Mr. Carlson?" the receptionist asked. "I'm not sure," I said. "That is what I need to find out." Amanda noticed me putting on my coat. "Where are you going?" she asked. "Just running errands. Maybe the hardware store." "Do you want me to come with you?" "You should not be driving if you are feeling confused." "I am fine," I said firmly. "I can handle it." Her jaw tightened slightly. "Do not be long. I am making an early dinner." I went straight to my lawyer's office. Richard Bennett had handled my affairs for years. He helped when I sold my business. He drew up Linda's and my wills. He managed Ethan's guardianship paperwork. Robert, he said, shaking my hand. Good to see you. Although you look like you have seen something terrible. What is going on? I told him everything. I showed him the photographs I had taken of the documents in the crawl space. As he scrolled through the pictures, his face hardened. This is serious, he said. Fraud, forgery, theft, possibly elder abuse. That power of attorney is fake. I have your real one on file. It only names Michael and Olivia jointly, and only if you are legitimately incapacitated. And this will? It is not the one I prepared. Your real will is properly filed. Can they actually have me declared incompetent? I asked. Not without independent medical evaluations and a court hearing. But if they are using forged documents, they might try to bypass the legal process. Some institutions accept paperwork without digging too deeply. I felt sick again. What do I do? First, he said, you get a full medical evaluation to prove you are competent. That will shut down any guardianship attempt. Second, we gather the original documents and take everything to the police. Third, we protect Ethan. Amanda cannot know I am aware, I said. Agreed. Can you retrieve the real documents tonight? Yes. Bring them to me first thing tomorrow. I will file an emergency motion to freeze your accounts and prevent further transfers. I will also formally revoke any fraudulent powers of attorney. What about Michael? I asked quietly. Richard's voice softened. If he is involved in this, there will be consequences. I swallowed hard. He made his choice. From there, I went straight to Dr. Lewis. He saw me immediately. Robert, you sounded distressed on the phone, he said. What is happening? I set the plastic bag of pills on his desk. I need you to test my blood for these, I said. I believe someone has been giving them to me without my knowledge for the past 4 months. His eyebrows shot up. You are serious? Yes, I said. And I need to know exactly what they have been putting into my body. Someone has been drugging you, Dr. Lewis asked, staring at the bottles. Who would do that? And why? So I told him. I told him about the hidden box, the forged papers, the joint bank account, the plan to declare me incompetent, the talk of guardianship. He did not interrupt me once. But the longer I spoke, the darker his face became. When I finished, he picked up one of the bottles and read the label carefully. High doses of alprazolam combined with these sedatives would absolutely cause confusion, memory loss, and disorientation, he said. It would look exactly like early dementia. Robert, this is not just manipulation. This is poisoning. The word hit me hard. Can you test for it? I asked. Yes, he said immediately. I will draw blood right now. I will also perform a full cognitive assessment. If your cognitive function is normal and we detect these substances in your bloodstream, that will prove you are being drugged. The testing took nearly 2 hours. There were memory exercises, word recall, pattern recognition, logical reasoning, problem solving. He had me repeat strings of numbers backward. He asked me to interpret proverbs. He tested short-term and long-term memory. By the end, I was mentally tired, but steady. Dr. Lewis sat down across from me. Robert, he said, your cognitive function is completely normal. In fact, it is above average for your age. There is no evidence of dementia, no sign of natural decline. Whatever confusion you have been experiencing is almost certainly chemically induced. I felt something loosen inside my chest. The blood results will take a few days, he continued, but I am confident we will find elevated levels of these medications. I am going to prepare a formal report stating that you are mentally competent. You will need that for legal action. Thank you, I said quietly. One more thing, he added, leaning forward. Stop consuming anything she gives you. No coffee, no special meals, nothing prepared just for you. And if you begin to feel confused again, call me immediately. I will. I got home around 5 in the afternoon. Amanda was in the kitchen. The smell of roast chicken filled the house. There you are, she said brightly. I was starting to worry. You were gone a long time. I ran into an old friend, I said smoothly. We got to talking. Well, dinner is almost ready. Go wash up. That night, I watched her closely. She served the girls first, then herself, then Ethan. My plate came last. She turned her back to the table while she prepared it. She brought everyone water from a pitcher. Mine came separately. When she was not looking, I quietly switched my glass with Ethan's. His eyes widened, but he did not say a word. After dinner, she offered to bring me tea while I watched television. That is kind of you. I said, but I am tired. I think I will go to bed early. For a split second, frustration flashed across her face. She needed me foggy. She needed me weak. Those days were over. Around 2 in the morning, Ethan and I went back to the basement. We pulled the entire box out this time and carried it up to my bedroom. We went through every page carefully. There was more than I had seen before. Emails with a real estate agent about listing my house. Brochures from retirement facilities. Not the nice ones. The cheapest ones. The kind with complaints about neglect. And then something that made my blood run cold. A life insurance policy on me. One I had never approved. Amanda listed as the sole beneficiary. She was planning to kill you. Ethan whispered, his face pale. Once she got you declared incompetent and moved into one of those places, she could have made it look natural. The thought had already been in my mind, but hearing it out loud made it real. The mother of my grandchildren had been planning my death. I photographed every document, uploaded the images to a secure cloud account, printed copies. Then we put the originals back exactly where they had been. The next morning, I brought the copies to Richard. He flipped through them, his jaw tightening. This goes beyond fraud, he said. This is conspiracy. Theft. Possibly conspiracy to commit murder if harm was planned. What do we do? I asked. We go to the police. Today. What if Amanda becomes suspicious? We will handle it carefully, he said. I know someone in the fraud division. By mid-morning, we were at the police station. Detective Laura Martinez listened carefully as I explained everything. She studied the documents. Took notes. Mr. Carlson, she said, what your daughter-in-law has done is criminal. We will verify the forgeries and trace the bank transfers. In the meantime, you must be cautious. If she suspects we are investigating, she could escalate. I understand. Give us 48 hours, she said. We will gather what we need. Then we will act. Those 48 hours felt longer than the past 6 months. I had to pretend nothing had changed. I smiled at Amanda, nodded absent-mindedly when she spoke, acted like the confused old man she believed me to be. Every time she handed me coffee, I dumped it into the plants in the backyard. When she served dinner, I found ways to discard it quietly. I lived on plain toast, fruit, and packaged snacks I opened myself. I lost a few pounds, but my mind stayed sharp. Ethan was on edge, jumping at every noise. It will be over soon, I told him. Stay calm. On the second evening, Michael came home from the oil fields. Amanda pulled him into their bedroom right away. Their voices were low, but urgent. I moved quietly down the hall and pressed my ear against the wall. He has been acting strange, Amanda whispered. He will not take his medication. He avoids food and drinks. I think he knows something. You are being paranoid, Michael said. He is confused. There is no way he understands what is happening. I am telling you, something changed. And Ethan is avoiding me too. What if he told him? Ethan does not know anything, Michael snapped. We are close. Just a few more weeks, and we can file for guardianship. Once that is approved, it is over. I do not like waiting, she said. What if he goes to a doctor? What if they test him and find the drugs? Who would believe him? Michael replied. Everyone thinks he is declining. His doctor, the neighbors, even the girls' teachers. No one is going to take his word over ours. I stepped away from the wall, my heart pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. My own son, talking about me like I was a problem to be managed. The next morning, my phone rang. It was Detective Martinez. Mr. Carlson, she said, we have verified the forged documents and confirmed the unauthorized transfers. We have enough for arrest warrants. Can you and Ethan be somewhere safe today? We will execute the warrants at your house this afternoon. I looked across the room at Ethan. It is time, I said quietly. We are going to Olivia's place in Vancouver, I told Detective Martinez. My daughter had no idea what had been happening. I planned to call her from the road and explain everything. I just needed Ethan and me far away when the police showed up at my house. Amanda was out showing a property. Michael was at work. The girls were in school. It was the right moment. I packed a bag for Ethan and one for myself. Clothes, important papers, the bare essentials. We loaded everything into my truck and pulled out of the driveway of the house I had lived in for 30 years. I did not look back. We were about halfway to Vancouver when my phone rang again. It was Detective Martinez. Mr. Carlson, she said, Amanda and Michael have been arrested. We located the crawl space and seized all the evidence. They have been charged with fraud, forgery, theft, and conspiracy to commit elder abuse. Additional charges related to the drugging are pending. Depending on toxicology results, attempted murder may be added. My hands started shaking so badly, I had to pull over to the side of the highway. What about my granddaughters? I asked. Madison and Chloe. Where are they? They were at school when we made the arrests. Child Protective Services has been notified. We are working on temporary placement. Are there other relatives? My daughter Olivia, I said quickly. She is in Vancouver. I am driving there now. She will take them. I know she will. We will have someone contact her, the detective said. You did the right thing. If you had waited, this could have ended very differently. I hung up. Ethan was crying quietly beside me. It is over, I told him, reaching over and squeezing his hand. We are safe now. The months that followed were a blur. Court dates, lawyers, statements, family arguments that cut deeper than anything I have ever felt. Amanda never admitted fault. She claimed she was protecting me from myself. She said Ethan had turned me against her. She painted herself as the victim. Michael eventually broke. During one of the hearings, he stood there with tears running down his face. I am sorry, Dad, he said. I know I do not deserve forgiveness. Amanda convinced me you were going to waste everything. She said Ethan was manipulating you. She said we had to secure our future. I was weak. I will regret this for the rest of my life. I looked at my son, the boy I had raised, the man who had chosen money over his own father. All I felt was sadness. You made your choices, I told him. Now you live with them. Amanda was sentenced to 6 years in prison for fraud, forgery, theft, and elder abuse. Additional penalties were added once the toxicology report confirmed the drugging. Michael received 4 years, reduced because he cooperated once the evidence was overwhelming. Madison and Chloe went to live with Olivia in Vancouver. It broke my heart that they lost both parents because of greed and selfishness. But Olivia stepped up in a way that made me proud. She gave those girls stability and love. I visit them every month. Ethan finished high school and earned a scholarship to university. He is 19 now. He could move out if he wanted to. But he stays. This is my home. He tells me whenever I suggest he might want his own place. You are my family, Uncle Robert. That is not going to change. As for me, I am all right. I am still in my house, still managing my own affairs, still perfectly capable. Thank you very much. The whole ordeal taught me a few hard lessons. Getting older does not mean becoming helpless. Betrayal can come from the people you least expect. But it also showed me that good people exist. People like Ethan, who risked everything to protect me. People like Detective Martinez and my lawyer, Richard Bennett, who did their jobs with integrity and did not look the other way. I learned to trust my instincts. When something feels wrong, it usually is. I learned that asking for help is not weakness. It is wisdom. I learned that once trust is shattered, it rarely goes back to what it was. But that does not mean you stop trusting everyone. Most of all, I learned that family is not just about blood. Ethan is not my son by birth. But in every way that matters, he showed me what loyalty looks like. He stood beside me when it counted. He spoke up when it was dangerous to do so. These days, I make my own coffee. I manage my own medication. My important documents are locked in a safe deposit box at the bank. I see my doctor regularly. My mind is sharp. The drugs are long gone from my system. Sometimes, late at night, I think about how close I came to losing everything. How easily I could have been declared incompetent. How I might have ended up confused and alone in some low-quality nursing facility while my own son and his wife spent the money I worked my entire life to earn. That thought still chills me. But then I remember a folded note pressed into my hand at the dinner table. I remember a scared 16-year-old boy choosing courage over silence. And I remind myself that as long as someone is willing to stand up and speak the truth, evil does not get the final word. Sometimes it takes a teenager in a dusty crawl space to save a life. If you are listening to my story and you worry about an older person in your life, pay attention. Elder abuse is real, and often, it comes from someone who appears caring on the surface. Watch for warning signs: sudden confusion, isolation, strange financial changes, a family member who controls access to friends, doctors, or money. Trust your gut. Ask questions. Dig deeper if something feels off. And if you are older and going through something like this, hear me clearly. You are not crazy. You are not imagining things. You deserve to be heard. Document everything. Speak to a doctor. Speak to a lawyer. Reach out to someone you trust. Do not let anyone convince you that age means incompetence. Age is a number. Wisdom does not disappear just because your hair turns gray. And if you are young, like Ethan was, and you see something wrong, be brave. Even if it is frightening. Even if adults tell you to stay quiet. Your voice matters. It might save someone's life. My story could have ended very differently. Instead, I am still here. Independent. Clear-minded. Living on my own terms. Ethan is studying law now. He says he wants to protect people who cannot protect themselves. Olivia is helping my granddaughters heal. Michael and Amanda are serving their sentences. I have made peace with that. The house is quiet again. But this time, it is a peaceful quiet. I rebuilt Linda's herb garden. The one Amanda tried to tear out. I watch hockey games with Ethan when he comes home on weekends. And I wake up every morning knowing I am free to make my own choices. That is all any of us really want. The freedom to choose. The dignity to be heard. The love of people who see us for who we are. Getting older does not mean losing your voice. It does not mean becoming invisible. It does not mean surrendering control to someone who claims they know better. Stay alert. Stay connected to people who truly care. And never ignore that small voice inside you when it says something is wrong. That voice is there for a reason. Trust yourself. Protect yourself. And when you need it, let the right people stand beside you. That is not weakness. That is survival. That is wisdom. And sometimes, that is how you win.